I've recently noticed larger and larger gaps in between my solo sessions, and that has really gotten me thinking about consistency, especially since that's something I've been working on a lot here lately, just when it comes to other areas of my life. And as I've been thinking about consistency in this hobby, I've been thinking about ways I can up my consistency in it. So I'll share some of those ideas as we get into the video. But first, I'm going to ask you guys a question and ask myself a question. And it doesn't actually have to do with this. I just started touching that. I'll move it just a little bit. What got you into the tabletop RPG hobby, just in general? So for me, I remember listening to a YogPod episode a long time ago where they played, and I say that loosely. They didn't really do a great job of playing D&D, but they played. Also, if you get the YogPod reference, that's pretty awesome. But from there, I listened to some Penny Arcade stuff and then eventually landed on Adventure Zone. But after a while of that, I just kind of fizzled out. I would listen to it when I mowed, pretty much as a high schooler and early college student. But then, while I was in college, some friends wanted to play, so we made 4E characters and stayed up all night one night playing. And the logical thing that followed was this question: so when are we going to do this again? And what followed that was a hodgepodge of nights over the following weeks where we would all get together and play. And not everyone could make it most of the time, but we played as much as we could. So, yeah, that was the early inception, but life got in the way of that. School got in the way of that, and it died out. I'm also going to grab some water. Yeah, so then one of my friends actually got married, and he started renting a house, and it had a basement in it, and so then that became like the dungeon. And we went over there and we played a bunch in that basement, and it was a lot of fun until he decided that he was going to be moving out of state, and we didn't really have anyone to run a game at that point, and so the game ended, and I went into another period where I didn't play for a while. I played random Roll20 sessions over the next few years, but nothing consistent. And then I started an overnight job as a doorman at a high-rise apartment building and had a lot of free time on my hands. And so I just recently started listening to NADPOD and talked to a friend who had been part of one of those college groups, actually both of those college groups, and said that I would DM since I had the time to prepare. And so I prepared for months, and then we started, and we haven't really stopped since. And I've played hundreds of sessions at this point, and the main reason for that is consistency. You don't play hundreds of sessions unless there's some kind of consistency, whether that's from one person or a lot of people. But we just found something that worked and stuck with it. But since having my daughter, the frequency of my sessions has been cut to once every other week, which is one of the reasons I considered solo play in the first place. And since I'm only scheduling time for myself, I can play all the time, is what I thought. I made a video before about how we are the ones who get in our ways when it comes to playing, and that same struggle continues, as is the case with a lot of things in life. Consistency has been hard to maintain, but why? That's my big first question, is why? So I've been going to the gym now for nearly 13 years and have seen results because of it. And that's kind of what you expect when you do something for that long. But I've also not wanted to go to the gym plenty during that period. There are days that I'm sore or days that I'm not wanting to do a certain exercise that I know is on the schedule for that day, and there are plenty of times that I just didn't go because of that. But more days than not, I drag myself out of bed and get in there and put in the work. And obviously, if I've been like injured or worried I might injure myself, I take it easy. But I stay consistency, and I've reaped the rewards of that. I'm not saying I'm anything special, but I'm happy with the results. And as I thought about this, I started picturing myself like a river. Okay, and I know that's super weird, but it's probably because when I was thinking about this in the first place, I was driving over a bridge, and yeah. So anyway, there's massive. So this rock and this rock had a point. This rock makes more sense, but this one's bigger. But anyway, there are rocks in rivers, right? And they're massive sometimes, but as long as the water's flowing, the rocks get shaped by the water, more like the smooth edge right here. So, like the water moves around the rocks, but as it does, it shapes them slowly but surely. So again, going back, since I kind of deviated, but I'm a river and there are rocks. There are rocks in the river. And so it's only when the water stops and is dammed up that it ceases to shape the rocks. So river's moving, water's getting flowed around, and it's slowly but surely shaping them. So if I'm a river, what are the rocks? And I think the rocks are things that keep us from doing what we want to do, like solo play in this instance. Those things can shape us, but we can't allow them to stop us. So we push against them. In the gym, I push up against my discomfort and do that set of squats that makes me want to throw up and pass out. And then I push through the rock that is shaped by, or not by. I push through and the rock is shaped by me in these instances. Sometimes adjustments are made, but I still put in the work and keep moving and never stop. So like, let's say I really can't do that set of squats because I am gonna pass out. I take a minute, I drink some water, and then I may go and do some leg press or something else. Something similar, but that's not going to absolutely murder me. But anyway, in solo play, which is the thing that we're actually here to talk about, or you're probably here to listen about, is so maybe our time is the rock. So how do we push up against that? In my opinion, we play. But Jared, that's not a solution. That's just you suggesting the problem I'm having in the first place. Well, I guess you didn't really let me finish, but in this case, I'm also you. So I didn't let myself finish. But anyway, that's dumb. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. So we play in a way that pushes against the rock in our life, that thing that's holding us back. And then you ask how? Like, how though? I think that we have to reshape the way we play around our lives sometimes. So we reshape the way we play around our life. And I'm lucky to have an in-person group who comes to my house every other week to play. And shout out to Will for bringing me this mic last week, because I probably don't sound super distant anymore. I probably sound too close, and if I do, I'm sorry. But when my wife and I had our baby, we stopped meeting for a few months. And we picked back up and started our every other week schedule when before it was every week. So my life shapes my hobbies, but just because I meet resistance doesn't mean that I shouldn't continue to push against it. So I think that if we struggle with consistency in solo play, we just need to identify what is the proverbial rock or dam that's keeping us away from it. And I can only speak to mine, but I encourage you to identify what yours is. And my rock is a few things. One is my journaling method, which I've talked about before, so I won't get too deep into that. But I'm working on remedying that currently. So I've got my first rock, which is my journaling method. And then my other method is just that when I sit down to play, it usually takes around an hour or two just to play. And that's no small time commitment. And honestly, oftentimes when I get the time, I just don't want to play for that long. So instead of shortening it, I just don't play. So I have a plan to shape that rock though. So like this. I recently started 2 challenges, if that's what you want to call them. Firstly, I started Dungeon 23, which is, I think I showed this in my last video as well, but I've just been drawing a dungeon room a day, and I started on the 5th, and I went back. I still have to draw the first, but I've just been drawing a room a day, and it's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed it. And then I started another challenge, which was issued to me by a friend, saying that we should both do 100 push-ups a day for 100 days, and then that would line up with Father's Day. So that was like a little over a week ago now. And I've stuck to both of those things really well. And at the end of the day, I mark it in this habit tracker that I have right here, and I mark it down. Anyway, how does this shape the solo play rock that I'm talking about? In the month of April, I plan to solo play every day, a challenge of sorts. I really don't like the word challenge because then it's like a viral thing. Like people are like, oh, I'm doing the I don't eat sugar anymore for the rest of my life challenge, or if you aren't eating sugar, good for you. I couldn't do it. But anyway, I just mentioned that I play for an hour or two every day. And if that is the case, if I'm going to solo play every day in the month of April, that would line up to anywhere between 30 to 60 hours or more, depending. So I plan to do things a little differently, and I'm going to ask you all to join me in this. I haven't gotten all of it mapped out yet, but I will be making a video of that soon, just like as a potential invitation. But my plan is to play out shorter spurts of time in game to alleviate my need to go so deep into each session. It'll be weird because I might want to play more some days, but my thought is this. If I can devote 15 to 20 minutes a day to this, I will see exponentially more time in game compared to what I currently play in a week or a month. So 30 days at 20 minutes a day is 10 hours of play over the course of a month, which is pretty wild to think about. So it's like you trying to do, or me trying to do 10,000 push-ups in just a few days, or trying to draw a mega dungeon in a week. I'm going to burn out more than likely, but by spreading it all out, I hope to see a fun story emerge throughout my game. And I hope to just be able to play more. More than likely, this will just be a 1-month thing, but if I like it enough, I may end up with a new approach to solo play in general, or I may learn that, hey, this is cool for this aspect of the game, or maybe another one. And I think about it like, I guess my plan is to just cover one day of play at a time, which right now I usually do like 3 to 4 in a session. So I think what that will do is, like, on those days that are just travel, it'll give me a lot more time and agency to just like dive in on the individual characters, like actually build a robust story, and I don't have to do it in a crazy way. So anyway, I plan to have a full breakdown of that I can present to anyone who wants to join me, but the goal is just to make time for what I love, to make time for what we love. But consistency is elusive at times, but I think that we have to chase it down, and we have to push back against it, and we have to just chase those things that we really want. Speaking of rivers, make sure you hydrate today. and then go and push up against those rocks in your life, and then make it look like this. We'll say it goes from this is the before, after, shocked face. All right, you guys have a good one, and I'll talk to you guys later.